Welcome to How to Sing Part 3. This is the third in my series of videos about singing. I will say again that I'm not an expert in this and I'm not a vocal tutor, but I have picked up a lot of useful things along the way from people that have been trained and in other various places too. First up, we're going to cover consonants as opposed to the vowels that we did in an earlier video. The vowel soundings being the A, E, I, O, U, U, R and the other sounds. The consonants are the bits in between, the T sound, P, B, all the other sounds. It's just to help you make those sounds clearer by practicing. Quickly over the diaphragm again. I'll show you how to feel the diaphragm in the breathing, but it wasn't quite understood about how to make sounds from the diaphragm, and one of the best examples that I gave was the R sound that comes from deeper, and the way to make that come from lower is actually to pretend that you're gargling some water, because if the water's in your throat you have to make the sound from lower to stop that from going into your lungs, and that's why you do open mouth R, and that comes from quite deep. The diaphragm is just the muscle, it doesn't produce the sound, but we'll cover that anyway. Now some notes about breathing. Just looking on my piece of paper here to help me out. Right, a breathing exercise can correct pitch issues on long notes that you have, because you may notice that when you start singing from lower and you try to do longer notes, they sort of go all wavy and funny at the end, and that's because the diaphragm muscle hasn't been exercised enough, it's not strong enough. But don't worry about them making funny waves. If they are making funny waves, then you are using your diaphragm, and that's a positive point out of it. Another thing is, don't take deep breaths when you're singing a song. Just take short, sharp breaths, because again it can expand the lungs out too much, which just has an adverse effect on the sound. Yeah, short, sharp breaths in between notes when you're singing. Just a couple of important points about singing tied into breathing is the important points are where you sing from, the control of your airflow and sound, which will lead to consistency. Now here's one simple exercise, and this is mainly for your lungs rather than your diaphragm. It is to get a consistent breath out, and that's taking as much air as you can into your lungs and then blowing out through thin lips or like that. But take a deep breath as you can until all the air in the lungs is gone, but try to make sure that the level of air coming out of your mouth throughout the whole breath is the same. So don't slow down blowing, always blow at the same intensity. Another good thing for your lungs is balloons. Balloons, actually, when you blow them up, they create a pressure against your lungs, so they make it harder to blow. It's meant to be quite good for asthmatics as well. But that's good exercise for your lungs. If you do a lot of physical exercise anyway, you'll probably have a good set of lungs. But yeah, if you don't, then blowing up balloons can be quite good. But anything that you have to blow into that provides resistance against your lungs, if you do that on a regular basis, that can help your lung capacity and your lungs as a whole. This exercise is a very important one. This one exercises your diaphragm, which will help you to get consistency in your notes and longer notes as well, overall control. Throughout this as well, doing this exercise, you should be able to feel your diaphragm working, and once you can identify where your diaphragm is, it helps you psychologically to know where it is, to know that you've got one. So this is basically like the other breathing exercise, but with one difference. We're going to be hissing So you have to fill your lungs again. You take the deepest breath you possibly can, and you finish this. You go through the entire breath until there's nothing left, so you've got to empty out your lungs. And you have to make it a hissing sound, so you have to push the air out. And the idea is the tongue on the top, just behind the teeth there, and you make that sound, a sound. But you take sit as straight as you can, with your shoulders down by the side. Not your shoulders, but your hands down by the side, and take a deep breath. I'll just give you a short example of it. And so you have to literally force it out hard until the breath, but do it in spates until the entire breath is gone. Now whilst you're there, don't do it just yet, but whilst you're doing it, let me show you where the diaphragm is again. Whilst you're doing this exercise, if you find the bottom of your rib cage in the centre, and then put one hand just below that, this is where your diaphragm is, roughly. Now when you're doing that, if you keep your head straight and your one arm down by the side, and you take that deep breath and do that hissing exercise, I will show you again. You should find and feel a movement here. You should feel this contract. Now if that's happening there, then you are doing it right. And what you will find is when you get towards the end of your breath, it will hurt around this area. Now obviously you don't carry on until you've got the entire breath gone. If it starts to hurt quite a bit, it should hurt just only a little bit, then that's a sign for you to stop. But that just shows you that you are actually exercising that muscle. And do that on a regular basis, you know, a few times a day. And the difference that makes in your singing and consistency of your voice is amazing over time. The vowel soundings is what will get you the correct pitch, but exercising the diaphragm there is what will give you the consistency in your notes, and you'll feel the difference. But that's very important to do that. One of the things was the consonants at the beginning of the video. Now you can choose whether to do those or not, because you know there are a number of singers that are unique because of the way that they use their consonants, the way they pronounce their consonants. Some people have imperfections in their voice, and that's what they've become famous for. But you know, if you want to sing opera or something like that, and you need to be able to pronounce things perfectly, then consonants are a good idea. Or just do them a little bit, you know. It's your own voice is important, and how you pronounce things is what makes you unique. So you shouldn't try to copy somebody else's sound. And also, the one very important thing is that once you get yourself into training, before you're going to perform or sing, it's one thing that makes a major difference is warming up your voice. I've made a few notes about that earlier, like the brr sound, you know, between your lips. That doing a tune like that, doing your scales and consonants before singing a song. You know, guitarists tune up their guitar, so you know, why not tune up your voice before a performance? Overall, the two most important things in singing are the breathing exercises and the scales, getting your pitch right. All the other hints and tips can be quite helpful in the learning process. But that's all for now, and I hope that it's been helpful to anybody out there who wants to get better at singing. Thank you.